Most people over 60 believe eggs are one of the best sources of protein you can eat. And for a long time, I believed that too. Every morning looked the same. A quiet kitchen, a warm cup of coffee, and 2 eggs on the plate. It felt like the right thing to do. Simple, healthy, responsible. I never questioned it, not even once. Then, one day, during a routine checkup, my doctor asked me something I was not expecting. He said, "Do you actually know how much protein is in those 2 eggs you eat every morning?" I smiled and told him, "Of course I do. I eat them every single day." He did not argue. He just nodded slowly and moved on. But something about the way he asked stuck with me. That night, I sat down and looked it up, just out of curiosity. And what I found honestly surprised me. 2 large eggs contain only about 12 to 13 grams of protein. That sounds decent, until you realize that after age 60, your body needs significantly more protein just to maintain the muscle you already have. 2 eggs in the morning are not terrible, but they are nowhere near enough to protect your strength as you get older. But here is the part that really caught me off guard. There are ordinary, everyday foods sitting in kitchens and grocery stores right now that contain 4, even 5 times more protein than eggs. Foods that are easy to prepare, easy to digest, and incredibly effective at helping older adults hold on to their muscle and independence. Yet most people our age have never even thought about them. So in this video, I am going to walk you through 10 of those foods, one by one. Each one is simple, practical, and backed by real research. And the one sitting at the very top of the list might completely change the way you think about your next meal. But before we begin, I am curious. Do you still start your morning with eggs? If you do, drop a comment below and let me know. You are definitely not alone. Let us start with something you have probably seen in every grocery store but may have never thought of as a serious protein source. Greek yogurt. Not the regular kind, not the flavored cups loaded with sugar, but the plain, non-fat, strained version. This one change alone could reshape the way your body handles protein after 60. Here is why. A standard boiled egg gives you about 6.3 grams of protein per 100 grams. That is what most people rely on every morning. But non-fat strained Greek yogurt delivers 10.3 grams per 100 grams. That is nearly double the protein with virtually none of the extra fat. And the difference comes down to how it is made. Unlike regular yogurt, this version goes through a triple straining process. Each round removes more liquid whey and lactose, leaving behind a thick, dense yogurt that concentrates the protein into every spoonful. That is also why many people who struggle with mild lactose sensitivity, which affects roughly 68% of adults worldwide according to the National Institutes of Health, can often tolerate Greek yogurt much better than milk or regular dairy. 16:9 Landscape Medical Infographic. White background with subtle blue gradient, rounded red-orange border, bold Montserrat, black typography, but the real power shows up in the research. A 2020 study published in the journal Nutrients followed a group of older adults over 12 weeks. Those who consumed at least 20 grams of dairy-based protein per day preserved 25% more muscle mass compared to those who did not, especially when they combined it with moderate walking, around 4,000 to 6,000 steps a day. That is not extreme exercise. That is a short walk around the neighborhood paired with the right food on your plate. Now here is the practical part. When you pick up Greek yogurt, always check the label. Choose plain non-fat with no added sugar. The American Heart Association recommends that adults consume no more than 25 grams of added sugar per day for women and 36 grams for men. Many flavored yogurts contain 15 to 20 grams of sugar in a single cup, which means one serving could use up most of your daily limit before lunch. So skip the sweetened versions entirely. Instead, add a spoonful of ground flax seeds for extra fiber and omega-3s, toss in a handful of fresh berries for natural antioxidants, or blend it into a morning smoothie. You can even use it as a base for savory dips or creamy salad dressings. It is one of the most flexible protein foods you will ever find. Now let us move to something that may have been sitting in your kitchen cabinet for months without you realizing what it can do. Chickpeas. Cooked chickpeas provide about 11.2 grams of protein per 100 grams, which already puts them ahead of eggs. But what makes chickpeas truly valuable for older adults is something eggs simply cannot offer: dietary fiber. A single cup of cooked chickpeas contains roughly 12.5 grams of fiber. That matters because fiber helps regulate blood sugar, supports healthy digestion, and reduces chronic inflammation, which is one of the leading drivers of muscle loss after 60. The World Health Organization recommends that adults consume at least 25 grams of fiber per day, yet studies show that most people over 60 barely reach 15 grams. Adding chickpeas to just one meal can close that gap significantly. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that older adults who began replacing some of their animal protein with plant sources, like legumes, experienced up to 26% less muscle loss over time. The researchers linked this to lower systemic inflammation and improved gut bacteria diversity, both of which legumes help support naturally. Chickpeas are also rich in magnesium, a mineral essential for proper muscle contraction and recovery. Adults over 60 need between 320 and 420 milligrams of magnesium daily, yet nearly half of older Americans fall short of that amount. To get the most out of chickpeas, soak them overnight before cooking. This softens their texture, improves digestion, and increases nutrient absorption. Once cooked, blend them into hummus with olive oil and lemon. Roast them with a pinch of spice for a crunchy snack, or toss them into soups, stews, and curries for a warm, satisfying meal. Now we are moving into two foods that take protein to a completely different level. One is a tiny grain that acts like a complete muscle fuel. The other is a small seed packed with minerals most older adults are seriously lacking. Together, they form one of the most powerful combinations you can add to your daily meals. Let us begin with quinoa. Once cooked, quinoa delivers about 14 grams of protein per 100 grams. That already puts it well above eggs, Greek yogurt, and even chickpeas. But the number alone is not what makes quinoa so remarkable. What sets it apart is the quality of that protein. Unlike most plant foods, quinoa is one of the rare sources that contains all 9 essential amino acids. These are the building blocks your body cannot produce on its own, which means they must come directly from the food you eat. When even one of those amino acids is missing or too low, your muscles cannot fully repair themselves after daily activity. Quinoa removes that problem entirely. One amino acid in particular makes quinoa stand out for older adults, and that is lysine. Most grains like rice, wheat, and oats are very low in lysine, but quinoa contains a generous amount of it. Why does that matter? Because lysine plays a direct role in muscle repair, calcium absorption, and collagen production. After age 60, collagen production naturally drops by roughly 1 to 1.5% per year, which affects not just your skin but also your joints, tendons, and connective tissue. Getting enough lysine through food can help slow that process. The research backs this up clearly. A 2022 study published in the journal Nutrients tracked older adults who added quinoa to their daily meals for 8 weeks. Compared with a control group eating plain white rice, the quinoa group showed a 9% improvement in leg strength. That may sound like a small number, but for someone over 60, a 9% gain in leg strength can mean the difference between climbing stairs confidently and needing to hold the railing with both hands. To get the most benefit from quinoa, there is one simple step most people skip. Soak it overnight before cooking. Quinoa naturally contains compounds called saponins on its outer layer, which can interfere with nutrient absorption and sometimes cause mild digestive discomfort. Soaking removes most of these compounds and allows your body to absorb significantly more of the protein and minerals inside. Here is another tip that can make a real difference. Instead of cooking quinoa in plain water, use bone broth or low-sodium vegetable stock. This adds extra amino acids, minerals, and flavor without any additional effort. You can also stir in a pinch of turmeric and black pepper while it cooks. Turmeric contains curcumin, a compound shown to reduce joint inflammation, and black pepper increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%, according to research published in Plantamedica. Quinoa works beautifully in warm grain bowls, savory breakfasts, or mixed into vegetable stir-fries. Top it with sautéed mushrooms, dark leafy greens, or a soft-boiled egg for a complete protein-rich meal. Just 3/4 of a cup per day, eaten consistently, can noticeably support your muscle recovery and energy levels over time. Now let us talk about something much smaller but surprisingly more powerful. Pumpkin seeds. These little green seeds deliver 19 grams of protein per 100 grams, nearly 3 times the protein in eggs. But the real reason pumpkin seeds deserve your attention goes far beyond protein alone. Pumpkin seeds are loaded with 3 minerals that most older adults are quietly running low on: magnesium, iron, and zinc. Each one plays a critical role in keeping your muscles strong, and without enough of them, even a high-protein diet can fall short. Let us start with magnesium. Your body needs magnesium for proper muscle contraction, nerve signaling, and preventing painful cramps. Adults over 60 need between 320 and 420 milligrams per day, yet according to the National Institutes of Health, nearly 48% of Americans of all ages consume less magnesium than recommended. That number is even higher among older adults. Just 30 grams of pumpkin seeds provides about 156 milligrams of magnesium, covering roughly 37 to 49% of your daily requirement in a single handful. Then there is iron. Iron carries oxygen through your blood to your muscles. When iron levels drop, muscles fatigue faster, recovery slows down, and even simple tasks like walking to the mailbox can feel exhausting. The World Health Organization estimates that iron deficiency affects over 1.6 billion people globally, with older adults being among the most vulnerable groups due to reduced dietary intake and lower absorption efficiency. And finally, zinc. This mineral is essential for tissue repair and immune function. Your body uses zinc every time it rebuilds damaged muscle fibers after physical activity. Adults over 60 need about 8 to 11 milligrams of zinc per day, and pumpkin seeds provide roughly 2.2 milligrams per 30-gram serving. Here is what the research shows when you put it all together. A study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food found that older adults who consumed pumpkin seeds daily for 12 weeks reduced muscle inflammation by up to 38%. That is not a subtle shift. Chronic low-grade inflammation, which doctors sometimes call inflammaging, is one of the primary reasons muscles weaken and shrink as we get older. Reducing it by more than a third is a significant step toward protecting your strength and mobility. To get the most benefit, choose raw, unsalted pumpkin seeds. Salted and roasted versions often contain excess sodium. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day, with an ideal limit of 1,500 milligrams for most adults over 50. A single serving of salted seeds can add 200 to 400 milligrams of unnecessary sodium, so keeping them raw and plain is always the smarter choice. Sprinkle them over Greek yogurt in the morning, add a spoonful to your smoothie, toss them into a salad, or blend them into a creamy seed butter. They are small, easy to store, and incredibly simple to work into any meal without changing your routine. Now we are stepping into a food that bridges the gap between protein and gut health in a way very few foods can. If you have never tried tempeh before, or if you have seen it at the store and walked right past it, this might change your mind entirely. Tempeh delivers 20 grams of protein per 100 grams. That is more than 3 times the protein in a single egg. But the amount is only part of the story. What truly makes tempeh different from almost every other protein source on this list is the way it is made. Unlike tofu, which comes from processed soy milk, tempeh is made from whole soybeans that have been naturally fermented. During fermentation, beneficial microorganisms break down the beans over several days, transforming them into a firm, dense block with a slightly nutty flavor. That single process changes everything about how your body handles the protein inside. First, fermentation makes tempeh significantly easier to digest. This is especially important after age 60, when your body produces fewer digestive enzymes. The National Institute on Aging estimates that by age 70, stomach acid production can decline by as much as 30 to 40% compared to younger adults. That means many protein-rich foods pass through your system without being fully broken down or absorbed. Tempeh sidesteps that problem because the fermentation has already done much of the heavy lifting before the food even reaches your stomach. Second, tempeh contains all 9 essential amino acids your body needs to rebuild muscle tissue. It is also naturally rich in leucine, the specific amino acid responsible for triggering muscle protein synthesis. After age 60, your muscles become less responsive to protein signals, a condition researchers call anabolic resistance. Getting enough leucine in each meal helps overcome that resistance and tells your muscles it is time to repair and grow. But there is a third benefit that most people completely overlook, and it might be the most important one of all. Because tempeh is fermented, it supports a healthier gut environment, and your gut health directly affects how well your body absorbs and uses every gram of protein you eat. A major study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed older adults over 1 full year. The results were striking. Participants who had a more diverse and balanced gut microbiome maintained 18% more lean muscle mass than those with poorer gut health, even when both groups were eating similar amounts of protein. In other words, it is not just about how much protein you consume. It is about whether your body can actually put that protein to work. Tempeh helps on both sides of that equation. The World Gastroenterology Organization estimates that digestive disorders affect roughly 40% of older adults worldwide, making gut-friendly protein sources more important than ever. By choosing fermented foods like tempeh, you are not only feeding your muscles directly, but also strengthening the digestive system that makes all other protein sources more effective. So how do you actually eat it? The simplest way is to slice it thin and pan-sear it in a lightly oiled skillet with a small splash of tamari or apple cider vinegar. This brings out a rich, savory flavor without relying on sugar or heavy oils. Keep the sodium in check by using low-sodium tamari, which contains around 700 milligrams per tablespoon compared to nearly 1,000 milligrams in regular soy sauce. You can also crumble tempeh into stir-fries with vegetables, layer sliced pieces into whole grain sandwiches, or break it apart and sprinkle it over fresh salads. Its firm texture holds up well during cooking, and its nutty taste pairs naturally with garlic, ginger, sesame, and citrus. For older adults looking to reduce their red meat intake without sacrificing protein or satisfaction, tempeh is one of the most practical swaps available. Now we are entering territory that most people over 60 have never explored. The next two foods on this list are not exotic or expensive. They are small, easy to use, and packed with more protein per gram than almost anything you will find in a regular grocery store. Yet somehow, they remain almost invisible to the people who would benefit from them the most. Let us start with spirulina. This blue-green algae has been consumed for centuries, but only in recent years has modern science begun to understand just how powerful it really is. Per 100 grams, spirulina delivers an impressive 29 grams of protein. That is nearly 5 times the amount found in eggs. But the number alone does not tell the full story. What makes spirulina truly exceptional is how efficiently your body can absorb it. Studies show that up to 85% of the protein in spirulina is bioavailable. To put that in perspective, the bioavailability of protein from beef is roughly 70 to 75%, and from most plant sources, it ranges between 50 and 65%. That means gram for gram. Your muscles can extract and use more protein from spirulina than from many animal-based foods. For older adults dealing with slower digestion and reduced enzyme production, that efficiency matters enormously. Spirulina also contains all 9 essential amino acids, including a generous amount of leucine. As we discussed earlier, leucine is the amino acid that sends the signal to your muscles to begin the repair and rebuilding process. After age 60, that signal weakens naturally, so having a concentrated source of leucine in a small, easy-to-consume form can make a real difference. But spirulina does more than just deliver protein. It also fights one of the most damaging silent threats to muscle health in older adults: chronic low-grade inflammation. This type of inflammation does not cause obvious symptoms like pain or swelling. Instead, it operates quietly in the background, gradually breaking down muscle tissue and slowing recovery day after day. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that approximately 60% of American adults live with at least one chronic inflammatory condition, and that number rises sharply after age 65. Spirulina contains a unique compound called phycocyanin, which gives it that distinctive deep blue-green color. A 2022 study published in Nutrients found that phycocyanin reduced C-reactive protein levels by 32% over a 1-2-week period. C-reactive protein, often abbreviated as CRP, is one of the most widely used markers doctors rely on to measure systemic inflammation. Lowering it by nearly a third through a simple dietary addition is a significant result. At the same time, spirulina has been shown to help increase nitric oxide production in the body. Nitric oxide widens blood vessels and improves circulation, which allows oxygen and nutrients to reach muscle tissue more effectively. For older adults whose cardiovascular systems are naturally becoming less efficient, the World Health Organization reports that cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of death globally among adults over 60. This improved blood flow can support not only muscle health but overall vitality. Now, here is the good news. You do not need large amounts of spirulina to see benefits. Just 1 teaspoon per day, roughly 3 to 5 grams, is enough to make a meaningful difference when used consistently. The easiest way to take it is by adding it to a morning smoothie with banana, spinach, and a handful of walnuts. The natural sweetness of the banana masks the earthy taste of spirulina completely. You can also stir it gently into warm oatmeal after cooking, or mix it into homemade energy bites made with dates, seeds, and nut butter. These make a perfect protein-rich snack between meals, especially for older adults who find it difficult to eat large portions at one sitting. The key with spirulina is consistency. 1 teaspoon today will not transform your strength overnight, but 1 teaspoon every day for several weeks can lead to noticeable improvements in muscle energy, recovery speed, and overall endurance. Now, let us move to a food that takes plant protein even higher: hemp seeds. With around 35 grams of protein per 100 grams, hemp seeds are one of the most protein-dense plant foods available anywhere. To put that in context, hemp seeds contain more than 5 times the protein found in eggs, and nearly double the protein in most cooked legumes. But what truly sets hemp seeds apart is their amino acid profile. Like quinoa and spirulina, hemp seeds provide all 9 essential amino acids. However, hemp delivers them in proportions that more closely match what your body actually needs for muscle repair and maintenance. Even quinoa, which is often praised as the gold standard of plant protein, does not align as precisely with the body's requirements as hemp does. A 2021 review published in Frontiers in Nutrition examined the relationship between complete plant proteins and muscle health in aging populations. The findings were clear. Older adults who regularly included complete plant proteins, such as hemp, in their daily meals showed better muscle retention, faster recovery after physical activity, and significantly less daily fatigue compared to those who relied on incomplete protein sources. The review also noted that many older adults consume less than the recommended 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, a target specifically endorsed by the European Society for Clinical Nutrition and Metabolism for adults over 65. Hemp seeds bring another powerful advantage that most protein foods simply cannot match. They are rich in both omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, delivered in a ratio that nutrition scientists consider close to ideal for reducing inflammation. They also contain a unique fatty acid called gamma-linolenic acid, or GLA. Research has linked GLA to improved joint mobility, lower inflammatory markers, better mental clarity, and stronger cardiovascular function. For older adults managing conditions like arthritis, mild cognitive decline, or high blood pressure, which the World Health Organization estimates affects roughly 1.3 billion adults worldwide, these additional benefits make hemp seeds far more than just a protein source. Using hemp seeds could not be simpler. The easiest method is to eat them raw. Their soft texture and mild, slightly nutty flavor blend into almost anything without changing the taste of your meal. Sprinkle a spoonful over warm roasted vegetables, stir them into your morning oatmeal, or blend them into a smoothie for an instant protein boost. They are also gentle on older digestive systems, which makes them a practical option for people who experience discomfort from heavier protein sources like meat or dairy. One important tip to keep in mind: avoid cooking hemp seeds over high heat. Their delicate oils are sensitive to temperature and can break down when exposed to direct flame or prolonged heat, losing some of their anti-inflammatory and nutritional value. Instead, add them to dishes after cooking, or enjoy them at room temperature for the greatest benefit. Now we are moving to a protein source that might sound unfamiliar at first, but once you understand what it can do, you may wonder why no one told you about it sooner. This food delivers more protein per gram than most cuts of meat, yet it contains almost no fat, no cholesterol, and very few carbohydrates. It is called seitan. Also known as wheat meat, seitan is made from vital wheat gluten, the natural protein found in wheat after the starch and fiber have been washed away. What remains is a dense, chewy food with a texture remarkably similar to meat. And the protein content is stunning. Per 100 grams, seitan provides approximately 39 grams of protein. That is more than 6 times the amount in eggs, nearly double the protein in chicken breast, and higher than most cuts of beef. But what makes seitan particularly valuable for older adults is not just how much protein it contains. It is how easily the body can break it down and put it to use. During the production process, the removal of starch and fiber leaves behind a concentrated, simplified protein structure. For aging digestive systems that struggle to extract nutrients from complex or heavy meals, this streamlined form of protein can be significantly easier to process. This is not just theory. Research published in Clinical Nutrition eSpen in 2022 studied older adults who incorporated plant-based protein isolates like seitan into their regular diets. Over the study period, those participants retained 21% more lean muscle mass compared to a control group following a more traditional mixed diet that included both animal and plant proteins. The researchers noted that the ease of digestion and high protein concentration were likely key factors behind the difference. Consider what 21% more muscle retention actually means in daily life for someone over 60. It means getting out of a chair without pushing off with both hands. It means carrying grocery bags from the car without stopping halfway. It means maintaining the physical independence that so many older adults quietly fear losing. The American Journal of Medicine reports that sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and function, affects roughly 10 to 16% of adults over 60 worldwide, and that number climbs to nearly 50% among those over 80. Any food that meaningfully slows that process deserves serious attention. Seitan also offers practical advantages for people managing chronic health conditions. Because it is naturally low in fat and carbohydrates, it does not cause the sharp blood sugar spikes that concern the estimated 537 million adults currently living with diabetes worldwide, according to the International Diabetes Federation. A 100-gram serving of seitan contains fewer than 4 grams of carbohydrates, compared to roughly 30 grams in the same amount of cooked rice or 45 grams in a medium potato. For older adults monitoring their cholesterol, seitan contains 0 dietary cholesterol, whereas a single large egg contains about 186 milligrams, which is already 62% of the 300 milligram daily limit. Many cardiologists still recommend for people at elevated cardiovascular risk. When it comes to cooking, seitan is one of the most versatile protein sources you will ever work with. Its naturally chewy, satisfying texture absorbs marinades and seasonings beautifully, making it feel more like meat than tofu or tempeh ever could. You can slice it thin and toss it into stir-fries with garlic, ginger, and colorful vegetables. You can pan-sear it in a small amount of olive oil until the edges turn golden and slightly crisp. You can grill it into savory strips for sandwiches or roast it with your favorite herbs and spices for a flavorful plant-based meal that even the most dedicated meat eaters would enjoy. To increase its nutritional value even further, pair seitan with vegetables rich in vitamin C. Bell peppers, broccoli, kale, tomatoes, and citrus fruits all work well. The reason is simple. Seitan contains non-heme iron, which is the form of iron found in plant foods. Your body absorbs non-heme iron less efficiently than the heme iron found in meat, but vitamin C can dramatically improve that absorption rate. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that consuming as little as 50 milligrams of vitamin C alongside a plant-based iron source can increase iron absorption by up to 300%. A single medium bell pepper contains about 150 milligrams of vitamin C, which is more than enough to unlock the iron benefits hidden inside your serving of seitan. One important note: because seitan is made entirely from wheat gluten, it is not suitable for anyone diagnosed with celiac disease or a confirmed gluten sensitivity. The Celiac Disease Foundation estimates that roughly 1 in 100 people worldwide are affected by celiac disease, though many cases remain undiagnosed. If you are unsure whether gluten is a concern for you, consult your doctor before adding seitan to your meals. But for the vast majority of older adults who tolerate gluten without any issues, seitan represents one of the most efficient, affordable, and satisfying ways to increase your daily protein intake without adding extra fat, sugar, or unnecessary calories. Now we are moving to something completely different. This food has been aged for over a year. It melts on your tongue, and thanks to a unique transformation that happens during that long aging process, it may help your body absorb protein more efficiently than most cuts of meat. It is Parmesan cheese. Most people think of Parmesan as a finishing touch, a little sprinkle over pasta, or a garnish on a salad. But when you look at what is actually inside this cheese, you quickly realize it is far more than a flavor enhancer. Per 100 grams, Parmesan delivers an extraordinary 42 grams of protein. That is nearly 7 times the protein in eggs, more than double the protein in chicken breast, and higher than virtually every food we have discussed so far, except for what is coming at number 1. But here is what truly separates Parmesan from other high-protein foods. It is not just the quantity. It is the form that protein takes by the time it reaches your plate. Authentic Parmesan is aged for a minimum of 12 months, and premium varieties are aged for up to 36 months. During that long maturation period, something remarkable happens inside the cheese. The proteins slowly break down into smaller peptides and free amino acids through a natural enzymatic process. By the time the cheese is ready to eat, Much of the digestive work has already been done. Why does that matter so much after age 60? Because as we get older, our bodies produce fewer digestive enzymes. The American Gastroenterological Association estimates that enzyme production can decline by 25 to 30% between the ages of 50 and 70. That means foods that require heavy digestive processing, like tough cuts of meat or large portions of legumes, may not be fully broken down in the stomach, and a significant portion of the protein they contain can pass through your system without ever being absorbed. Parmesan essentially bypasses that problem. Because the proteins are already partially pre-digested through months of natural aging, your body can absorb them with far less effort. A 2019 study published in the journal Nutrients confirmed this directly. Researchers found that older adults absorbed amino acids from aged cheeses like Parmesan nearly 30% more efficiently than from regular unprocessed meat. That is a substantial difference, especially for people who eat smaller meals or have naturally lower appetites. Speaking of appetite, this is another area where Parmesan quietly delivers an advantage. Loss of appetite is one of the most under-recognized nutritional challenges among older adults. The Council of Nutrition Appetite Questionnaire studies suggest that up to 25 to 30% of community-dwelling adults over 65 experience some degree of appetite decline, and that number rises significantly among those over 80 or living with chronic conditions. When appetite drops, every bite needs to count. And this is where Parmesan becomes remarkably practical. Just 30 grams of Parmesan, roughly 2 tablespoons of freshly grated cheese, provides approximately 10 grams of high-quality protein. That small amount also delivers more than 1.5 grams of leucine, the critical amino acid your body requires to trigger muscle protein synthesis. Research from the University of Texas Medical Branch established that the minimum leucine threshold needed to activate muscle rebuilding in older adults is approximately 2 to 2.5 grams per meal. A modest serving of Parmesan gets you more than halfway there before you have even considered the protein in the rest of your plate. This makes Parmesan an exceptionally efficient tool in the fight against sarcopenia. The European Working Group on Sarcopenia in Older People estimates that this condition, which involves the progressive loss of muscle mass and function, affects between 5 and 13% of adults aged 60 to 70 and between 11 and 50% of those over 80. The consequences are not minor. Sarcopenia is associated with a 2 to 5 times greater risk of disability, a significantly higher likelihood of falls and fractures, and increased hospitalization rates. Anything that helps your body absorb more muscle-building protein from less food is worth taking seriously. Parmesan also provides a rich supply of calcium. A 30-gram serving contains roughly 330 milligrams, which is about 33% of the daily recommended intake of 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams for adults over 50, according to the National Osteoporosis Foundation. Calcium works alongside protein and leucine to support not only muscle function but also bone density, which becomes increasingly fragile with age. The International Osteoporosis Foundation reports that osteoporotic fractures affect approximately 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men over the age of 50 worldwide. Now let us talk about how to actually use Parmesan in your meals. The simplest and most effective method is to freshly grate it over warm dishes. When Parmesan is gently warmed, its natural aromatic compounds are released more fully. That rich, savory aroma can actually help stimulate appetite, which is a genuine benefit for older adults who often sit down to a meal without feeling hungry. Try grating it over roasted vegetables like broccoli, zucchini, or sweet potatoes. Stir it into scrambled eggs or omelets for a double protein boost. Sprinkle it across a warm, whole-grain bowl with quinoa, leafy greens, and olive oil. One practical tip to keep in mind: always choose authentic, traditionally aged Parmesan rather than the pre-grated powdered versions commonly sold in plastic containers. Those processed versions often contain added cellulose, sodium, and preservatives. A single tablespoon of some pre-grated products can contain over 85 milligrams of sodium beyond what the cheese itself naturally provides. Given that the American Heart Association recommends limiting sodium to no more than 1,500 milligrams per day for most adults over 50, every unnecessary milligram adds up. Buy a small block of real Parmesan, grate it yourself at home, and store the rest tightly wrapped in the refrigerator, where it can last for several weeks. The beauty of Parmesan is that you do not need much. A few tablespoons over 1 or 2 meals can deliver a meaningful protein and leucine boost with minimal effort, minimal volume, and maximum absorption. For older adults trying to protect their muscles without eating large, heavy meals, it is one of the smartest and most enjoyable additions you can make. And now we have reached the top of the list. Number 1, this is not something you will find in the dairy aisle, the meat section, or even the supplement shelf in most stores. It is simple, ancient, and extraordinarily powerful. Yet almost no one over 60 is using it. Dried fish powder, made by slowly dehydrating lean fish such as cod or pollock until all the moisture is removed. What remains is a fine, lightweight powder that concentrates everything beneficial about fish into its purest form. And the protein content is remarkable. Per 100 grams, dried fish powder contains approximately 63 grams of protein. That is 10 times the amount in eggs, nearly double what you get from chicken breast, and higher than virtually every whey-based supplement on the market. Yet, despite that extraordinary concentration, this food remains largely unknown and dramatically underused among the people who need it most. What makes dried fish powder so effective is not just how much protein it contains, but how quickly and completely your body can absorb it. The protein structure in dried fish is already partially broken down during the dehydration process, which means your digestive system does not have to work as hard to extract what it needs. For older adults dealing with reduced enzyme production, slower gastric emptying, or conditions like atrophic gastritis, which the American Gastroenterological Association estimates affects between 20 and 30% of adults over 60, this ease of absorption is a critical advantage. The research on dried fish powder is compelling. A 2020 clinical study published in Clinical Nutrition followed a group of older adults who consumed dried cod powder daily over a 10-week period without making any changes to their exercise routines. The results were striking. Participants gained 19% more lean muscle mass compared to the control group. No gym membership, no resistance training, no complicated meal plans. Just high-quality, highly absorbable protein added consistently to their regular meals. The key factor behind that result is leucine. Dried fish powder is exceptionally rich in this amino acid, which your body depends on to activate muscle protein synthesis, the biological process responsible for repairing and rebuilding muscle fibers. Research from Harvard Medical School has shown that most older adults fall significantly short of their daily leucine requirements through typical meals. The average older adult consumes roughly 5 to 6 grams of leucine per day, yet emerging evidence suggests that 6 to 8 grams may be necessary to optimally stimulate muscle maintenance after age 60. Just 25 grams of dried fish powder, roughly 2 tablespoons, provides more than 3 grams of leucine in a single serving. Add that to one meal, and you are already approaching the threshold your muscles need to begin the repair process. Beyond leucine, dried fish powder is also a natural source of essential omega-3 fatty acids, calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin D. The combination of protein and vitamin D is particularly important because vitamin D plays a direct role in muscle function. The Endocrine Society reports that vitamin D deficiency affects an estimated 1 billion people worldwide, with adults over 65 being among the most vulnerable due to reduced sun exposure and decreased skin synthesis capacity. A single serving of dried fish powder can contribute meaningful amounts of vitamin D alongside its protein, creating a dual benefit that very few other foods can match. From a practical standpoint, dried fish powder is one of the easiest high-protein foods to incorporate into daily life. It dissolves smoothly into warm soups, stews, and broths without altering the texture significantly. You can stir it into mashed vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, or cauliflower for an invisible protein boost. You can blend it into savory oatmeal in the morning for a breakfast that delivers more muscle-building nutrition than most people get in 2 full meals. It can even be mixed into homemade sauces and gravies where its mild, slightly savory flavor blends naturally with other ingredients. For older adults who struggle with chewing difficulties, swallowing problems, or simply a low appetite, dried fish powder solves a problem that many other protein sources cannot. There is nothing to chew, nothing to cut, and no large volume of food to force down. A couple of tablespoons stirred into something you are already eating can transform an ordinary meal into a serious muscle-supporting one. It also stores exceptionally well. Unlike fresh fish, which spoils within days, or cooked meat, which needs refrigeration and reheating, dried fish powder can sit in a sealed container in your pantry for months without losing its nutritional value. This makes it ideal for older adults living alone who may not shop frequently or who prefer to keep their kitchen routines simple and low maintenance. One important guideline when choosing dried fish powder: Always select a food-grade version with no added salt, artificial flavors, or preservatives. Some commercial brands add significant amounts of sodium during processing, and given that the World Health Organization recommends limiting sodium intake to less than 2,000 milligrams per day, while the average adult already consumes between 3,000 and 5,000 milligrams daily, any unnecessary sodium should be avoided. Read the ingredient list carefully. The only ingredient should be fish, nothing else. This is not just another food on a list. It is a practical, affordable, and scientifically supported tool for restoring and maintaining strength during the years when muscle becomes hardest to keep. Now you have seen all 10, from the thick, creamy richness of Greek yogurt to the humble chickpea sitting quietly in your pantry, from the complete protein of quinoa to the mineral-packed power of pumpkin seeds, from the gut-friendly fermentation of tempeh to the concentrated efficiency of spirulina and hemp seeds, from the dense, satisfying texture of seitan to the perfectly aged absorption advantage of parmesan, and finally, to the extraordinary simplicity of dried fish powder, a food that asks almost nothing of your body, yet gives back so much. Each of these foods does something that eggs alone cannot do. They deliver more protein per gram, they support digestion, they reduce inflammation, and they provide the specific amino acids and minerals that aging muscles desperately need to stay strong. You do not need to eat all 10 tomorrow. You do not need to overhaul your kitchen overnight. Start with one. Whichever one feels easiest, most affordable, or most appealing to you. Add it to a single meal each day and stay consistent. That is where the real change happens. Not in dramatic overhauls, but in small, steady choices made day after day. Which one will you try first? Leave a comment below and let me know. Your answer might inspire someone else who is watching this video right now, wondering where to start. And if this information was helpful, please tap the like button and share this video with someone you care about. A parent, a friend, a neighbor, anyone who deserves to know that staying strong after 60 is not about working harder. It is about choosing smarter. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. Take care of yourself, eat well, and remember, growing older does not have to mean growing weaker. The right daily habits can help you wake up every morning feeling stronger than the day before. The choice is yours.